Good evening, everybody. I'm Renee Cannon. I'm back again with Dr. Walter Simmons.
Yes,
For
indeed.
another session of Money Matters. We're every Thursday at 7 p.m. And we're tuning in for two drastically different locations right now. I'm here in Cleveland, Ohio. And tell them where you at, Doc.
Well, I'm in the beautiful Spice Island of Grenada in the Caribbean. So I'm enjoying some sunshine. I'm enjoying some of the beautiful beaches and just a time of relaxation.
Yeah, you better soak it up while you can. Because when you come back, it's liable to snow. You know, it's 30 in the daytime. It's 40 when it's hottest. And the thing about it right now is it's been so cold recently that now that it's 40 degrees, it almost feels like it's summertime to me.
Oh, boy.
It's getting good, but spring is coming along. It's been good. I've been able to take the boy outside and things like that.
Nice. I know that you enjoy that.
Yeah, time is good. And it's been good since the last time we met. We were talking last week on the topic of investment. And you know, that thing was really, I was wrestling with that thing as you were speaking, and even afterwards. And even my father called me and was actually speaking about it and how he was impressed and thought about some of the things that you were saying. And I wound up taking some of your advice.
I heard you took some action. I heard
I had to do it.
Action you took this week, Pastor.
Yeah. You were talking about getting in the game.
That's right.
Yeah, not sitting on the sidelines. And I think that's what's been troubling me because I think about it and think about it and think about it, but I never do anything.
That's right.
Yeah. So this week I decided to actually get up and make some investments, and I'm excited already about what God is going to do.
You dip your toes in the water and you'll never turn back.
That's it right there. And today we're building on this topic of investment because we're moving from investment to now we're talking about another section of it, which is actually retirement. And this is a very important thing. And before we get into it, I'm just going to lead us out in a spiritual nugget from the Word of God. And we want to turn there. It's found here in Numbers 8, 23 and 26. And would you believe that, you know, I actually found this very concept of what it actually means to retire and such right in the Bible, Numbers 8:23 through 26. I'm reading it to you. The Bible says this, look, and the Lord spoke to Moses saying, this applies to the Levites. From 25 years old and upward, they shall come to do duty in the service of the tent of meeting. And from the age of 50 years, they shall withdraw from the duty of the service and serve no more. It says the minister to their brothers in the tent of meeting by keeping, they minister to their brothers in the tent of meeting by keeping their guard, but they shall do no service. Thus shall you do to the Levites in assigning their duties. And here, you know, this thing kind of reminds me of when I first joined the Navy. For Dr. Simmons, when I first joined, I was 19 years old. And I remember even at 19, I had a conversation with a financial counselor. And the first thing he told me and a group of other people who were 18 and 19 years old is that everybody will one day be discharged from the United States Navy.
Indeed.
Look, whether that discharge came after 4 years, 10 years, or even a 30-year career, the time would eventually come in which every person listed on a muster or a roll call would eventually have to leave the United States Navy. And with this reality being taught to us, he then let us know that even at the age of 18 and 19, we were to start thinking about retirement. And the reason he said that we should start thinking about retirement even at 18 and 19 years old is because he said that the day is coming very soon. And if you don't start planning for it, it will creep up on you like a thief in the night, and you will not be able to retire at all if you don't start planning right now.
That's right.
And I believe this is what we see right here in the text. For God is letting the people know that not even the Levites, not even those who serve the people of God, are to work forever. If we look at it again, he says, look, it applies to the Levites. He says, from 25 years old and upward, they shall come to do their service. He says, and from the age of 50 years, they shall withdraw from the duty of service and serve no more. So he was even putting the principles of retirement here within the Bible, letting them know that through their tithe and offering, they had a responsibility to then begin to care for those Levites. This was their retirement system. And just as they were invested in the retirement system of their time, so we have a responsibility. Because, just frankly, the nation isn't going to make sure that we are cared for, but we have a responsibility to ensure that we are taking the proper steps. So when the time comes for us to retire, we'll be able to do so and even have a comfortable life in doing so. So we're going to go ahead and go out in this conversation of retirement. I'm going to invite you now, Dr. Simmons, to lead us out in that conversation.
Yes, Pastor. And I always like to reflect and go back from the beginning when we started our podcast, talking about the budget, talking about planning, talking about strategy. And as you see, it's all integrated. We talked about budget, we talked about credit, and last week we talked about investment. And now we're talking about retirement, which is basically an extension of the plans, the budget, and so on that we've done in the past. And with retirement, he said, go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. Mm-hmm. You have to plan for a rainy day. We hear those things all the time. Plan for a rainy day, plan for emergency. One thing, we all are getting old. Mm-hmm. So the plans we make with our budget, the plans we make with our credit card, all those have ramifications for us when it comes to retirement. And Pastor, talking about retirement, we have a lot of people, a large part of our population getting to the age of 50, 60, and have no money for retirement.
Mercy.
And you can't just depend on good old Social Security. That wouldn't do it. When you say, and remember now, we are living longer too, for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, so you have to plan for the future. And that takes us to, again, with a good investment plan, a large part of that investment can be allocated to retirement. And Pastor, basically what you find is that, go ahead.
No, I'm just listening. So you kind of starting to talk about breaking down how to make this retirement thing happen.
Correct.
So the first part you looked at was the budget plan, having the plan to do it. The second thing you kind of talking to is now moving us into an investment plan as it pertains to retirement. Am I correct?
Right. Moving into that investment plan as it now. Most of us who are working, if we work with a company, most companies have some type of retirement plan. Typically, maybe a 401k, that's a common type. And we're going to just talk about the basic ones, And so we have the traditional IRA where you put that money tax-free when you retire, you withdraw that money and you pay taxes. And there is the traditional and there is the Roth IRA where you pay the taxes up front. And when you retire, there are no tax obligations, So again, you can decide which one works best for you.
Do you have a recommendation on which one is better? Is it better to pay the tax now, or is it better to pay later? Is it which one?
It has to do with Uncle Sam taxation. Mm-hmm. Where would your tax bracket be? If you're anticipating that you're going to have a higher tax bracket in later years, so
then tax me now.
Yes, overall, I prefer the Roth. We have no control as to what tax is going to be like in the future. So I just prefer the Roth. Some other benefits of the Roth is that at 59 and a half, you can start taking from the Roth, especially what you put in. So I think for me, for young people, I would encourage them to do the Roth. But again, it depends on how your tax obligations are defined.
Gotcha.
But the point is, the Pastor, is that whether you do a Roth whether you do a traditional IRA, and there is also, remember, so those are the vehicles. You have the traditional IRA, you have the Roth, then there's good old Social Security, again, but that's a given. If you work, some of it goes to your retirement. So, but I also encourage people to go beyond that, have some personal investments, like some brokerage accounts, and do something, because you should be able to. I mean, in general, they're saying that you should be able to have about 70% of your pre-retirement income. 70%.
Okay,
Yes.
so because that was actually a question that I had, as we're getting into it, you're saying that in order to retire, you need 70% of your
That's in
income.
general. Yes.
Okay.
If you want to live that same lifestyle, that comfortable lifestyle, it's lifestyle and your age. That's a critical component when you're talking about retirement. My age and what type of lifestyle do I want to live in retirement? So depending on your age, I'm 65. I said I want to go until 80. The Lord bless me until 80. Well, what type of lifestyle would I like to live between 65 and 80? And that will basically determine and let you know how much money, how much income you need to sustain that type of lifestyle. And today, Pastor, there are tons of calculators out there. You put in your age, you put in your income, and it will just pillar that information.
And it will tell you like a lump sum amount of money.
Definitely. And not only lump sum, it will tell you what lump sum you need. Let's suppose you are 30 and you say I want to retire by 50. Well, let's say between 30 and 50, here is the amount that you put aside based on a certain interest rate. And when you get to 50, here's the lump sum you're gonna have when you get to 50.
Just off the head, I know we're moving and you're thinking, do you know of a website that you can kind of go to look at something like that, a retirement calculator?
Well, there is one at nerdwallet.com. There is TD Ameritrade. And if you want to get information, go to the Social Security website. So there's TD Ameritrade website. There's NERD Nerd Wallet. You can go to so there. You can just go to Google Finance, go to Google and just say you're looking for retirement calculator, and they'll spill out a set of instruments that you can utilize. But Pastor, the key is, though, again, it comes back to having the discipline and the foresight to make the decision now. Because we have a lot of older folks who did not make use of their younger years of investing, and now they find themselves behind and they have to catch up. And how do you catch up?
Yeah, that's where I was going. How, for those individuals who are behind, that did start at 19 and 18 and such, or not even 30, maybe in their 40s and such. How do you catch up?
Well, Pastor, as I always tell you, there are basically two ways, It's either you make more income or you cut back on the spending. So to make more income, it means that you may have to get some additional jobs, some additional opportunities. You need more income. Plus, you need to save a higher portion of your income. So if you haven't been saving for a long time, that means now you have to catch up. Catching up means you have to put in a larger portion of your income must go towards investing, towards saving for retirement. Or you may have to cut back on your expenses. But remember that some of the expenses are uncontrollable. Health, for example, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You get stuck by some type of chronic disease. You don't. So again, it just makes sense to start early, but unfortunately, most of us have not started early, and we have to catch up. And that means we have to make more sacrifice, cut back on the spending, get an additional gig, do something part-time. But you have to, because if you just depended on Social Security, that just would not cut it. It just, by living longer, you need more to sustain yourself over a longer period of time. And remember, to Pastor, last week we talked a little bit about inflation. The value of your purchasing power is declining. So you need more in, to maintain that type of lifestyle, you know. So it's critical, and it could be pretty sad also too to see people that have worked hard, you know, but they didn't work smart, or they didn't
Very so.
save, so
Very
you
so.
have, you can't be consuming and consuming when you are basically in a fixed income,
Mm.
because at the end of the day, you wouldn't have enough left
You,
to take care of basic things.
this thing that you're talking about is kind of I won't call it scary. I think it's alarming,
Mhm.
because I'm 35 now, and it's saying kind of if you're looking ahead and you could be enjoying life and doing this and doing that and just living as it comes, but if you are not careful, if you have not made sure that you are doing things that will benefit you when that time comes, those late years will be very hard. So even to catch up, you start talking about that catch up language. Even in catching up, it sounds like in the years where you should be working less, you're going to be hustling and doing even more.
Definitely, because it's about the time value of money. So, for example, you have a son. I mean, you can start planning your son retirement. I
Mm.
mean, that little kid, you start saving for him now, you know, 50, $100. By the time that young man gets to 40, 50, he'll be set. He'll be set for life,
Mm.
with little effort. But again, it's the foresight and understanding the concept of compound interest. It's a powerful concept, that people do not really, I mean, you may start, you invest with your son now for the next 15 years, next 20 years, and maybe you don't do anything else after that. And that money stays there and compound depending on the interest rate and the growth rate. He can still have a substantial amount. you
Hmm.
know. And that's what it takes. It's just math, Pastor, pure and simple math. It has no emotions, nothing. Just it's just a fact. But and I think more and more, especially African Americans too, we're getting more into investing. We need to do more of it in high school. That's why I'm always, we have our youth investment and innovation club, and we have an adult club at church. That's the goal.
Hmm.
It's unfortunately that, I mean, what inspires me the most is the enthusiasm and commitment I see from our young people,
Hmm.
at least from the Temple of Praise Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Hmm.
The young people are inspired, they are investing, they have brokerage accounts. We have to work with the adults a little more, because the adults are a little bit more set in their ways, you
Right.
know, you know.
Yeah, but
So we
these are
have to work with them
individuals
more.
who are kids that
Mhm,
it's beautiful for them because they're setting themselves up
mhm.
for the long term. When that time comes, because I think one of the things that's really sticking to me as I run this on the screen is everything is really just being drawn back consistently to that budget. I almost cringe
Yes,
to keep
Pastor.
saying it, but the
Hmm.
more and more you talk, the more and more I see that for and I'm not speaking, of course, some are more blessed than other. I won't even
Hmm.
say blessed, just in better positions
Hmm.
than others as it pertains to their financial wellness and such. But in the bell curve, the great majority of us are going to fall in that middle ground. We're in the middle, not in the upward ends and then lowest. The
That's
majority of
right.
us are in the middle, but it kind of sounds like that the difference when it comes to retirement and the difference for the majority of us is just going to be our willingness to create this plan and to stick to that plan.
Yes, yes, the
It sounds like.
decisions we make.
Hmm.
And sometimes we need to be not just within the bell curve, we need to be at the end of those bell curves sometimes.
Hmm.
Be the outlier.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
important. And I also think, to Pastor, is that even within our church too, we have a certain stigma about the stock market, and I would say about investing, because well, for whatever reason. But you got to occupy till I come, and
Yeah, that's right.
and you should occupy, be fruitful, be multiply your resources. I mean, how more could we help others and help the world and
That's
spread
right.
the gospel if we have the resources to do it. You
You know,
know,
I think that's very important. You know, when I was pastoring in Virginia, one of the problems that they had was, you know, you're dealing with a place where the rent would drastically increase. You got a lot of poor residents, and the rent was always going up. Now, there's only two ways to really solve it. One is through legislative fixes and such, going to your government and such. But the other one, you know, it's just a pure financial problem. And
correct.
we don't have, you know, I look at the church. If we as a church had the amount of money, you know, we could start, you know, industrializing, creating our job positions and paying people living salaries and such so they can be able to do it. But it does start, you know, with us as individuals stepping up and utilizing what we have, maximizing what it is that we've already been given.
Definitely, and we have to empower ourselves. You know, we can't just depend on what the government gives to us. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I know times are tough. We're living in a crisis, but again, it all boils down to individual responsibility at the end of the day. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and it doesn't matter how much you make. It's what you do with what you make. And I know people say that, but I really believe that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, because I'm not saving more now than I used to be, than I used to many years ago, but I just developed a systematic way of giving. And by the way, I really believe in that statement. The more you give, the more he gives to you.
Mm-hmm.
I've been blessed by
Amen.
giving, you know,
Amen.
so I mean, the windows are always open up and you have been
God is
poured
good.
out the blessing. So, you know, and that's what I want the young people to know too. I talk a lot about the young people, but it opens up their minds,
Yeah.
I mean, if you can scale something, then everybody becomes better off. It's
Mm-hmm.
not holding it and holding your ideas. Think about Bill Gates and
Yeah.
Amazon, what they were able to do. Find an idea and scale it,
Mm-hmm.
make it big, make it worldwide. You know, that means you bring along a host of other people with you.
That's right.
And that's what we need to do, Pastor. And I think that's what we're going to do at Temple of Praise. I see great potential coming from Temple of Praise
Yeah.
because we have what it takes and we can scale it. And we have the young people doing it. We have the
Yeah.
adults doing it.
Yeah, we got some people that are there and very dedicated to it. And I just piggyback on what you were saying about what God does. You know, when I was in when I was in the Navy and such, I was going to school and you know, I was part of my tuition was paid in the Navy, but the other half, which was a substantial cost, was it was my bill to pay. You know, but God was really taking care. I would get phone calls and they would say, you know, congratulations, you know, you are the winner of the scholarship and such. And I never
That's right. That's right.
scholarships and those, you know, me wind up getting those things and such. It wound up enabling me to enter into, you know, different circles where I would be able to earn more money. And I look at it as, you know, that's what God has done for me. But you know, I've heard what you have put forth, and I put it down here at the bottom. I just want to show this one more time
Yes.
about some of the different layers and things that we do. Number one, the first thing I heard you talk about is repeating the importance of the budget,
That's
making
right.
sure that retirement is a line item in your budget, that you're moving towards that we're putting money in it. And I'm actually doing that from your lesson last week on investment. I'm making that part of my budget to systematically give onto that. Number two, he talked about the idea of the retirement that you're able to get from just your work and such. I know that many jobs and such, once you work there for 5 years or whatever period, you become vested in their retirement program and so on and so forth. Number
And
three,
Pastor, one thing before
yeah,
you go on, one thing as you talk about retirement on the jobs, because most companies will match.
yeah,
So basically, they're giving you free money,
oh yeah,
and many people don't take it.
man, yeah, I wish I had something like that. Yeah, that's a blessing.
Yes, because we're thinking short term.
Yeah,
But continue.
okay, I like that. Look beyond today. You
Mhm.
know, I think that's what they were teaching when I was 18 and 19 was we're young and I couldn't see it. Now I can see it. I couldn't see it then, but now I can see it. I wish I had the eyes. Some people did. look beyond what you see today. If God blesses you to be alive and such, in your 70s and such, you want to be comfortable in those years. So don't get caught up in what you need or what you think you want today. Look ahead. And he talked about paying into that retirement, especially if they match. And I wish I was with somebody who did something like that. That's a major blessing.
Correct, Pastor.
Looking at number 3, and I know he talked about Social Security. And if you go into the Social Security Administration website, you're actually able to see, what it is that you have accrued into Social Security at that
That's
time.
Right.
Yeah, you can see it live and direct. Number 4, your savings and such. That was another leg of the retirement. And then number 5 was not just depending upon your work to handle it, but you need to be personally invested in your own retirement.
That's
so
right.
About investing your money on your own, and that compound interest is going to come after years and years and years. I wish we could stay on and talk more about some of the things that I've just been, that I took from last week's lesson and started to kind of look. But this thing it is critical. So I'm encouraging you to do what I was encouraged to do last week. Get involved.
Yes. And implementation, Pastor. Sometimes we spend too much time reading, and gathering a lot of information. That's good, but it's good to do that simultaneously. I like to read and implement.
That's right. The word says, don't be hearers of the word alone.
You got to be doers of the word.
Yeah, that's right. So when you hear it today, when you've heard it today, and this is coming forward, you want to go ahead and get involved in that thing. If you heard last week on investment and such, there comes a time, because I was in that same boat and thinking about it, reading about it, and so on and so forth, doing it all the time. It's time now to get involved. Like Dr. Simmons said, get your feet wet and watch out, and you'll see what God is going to do.
Yes, Pastor.
And thank you now this evening for coming on with us. I want to let you know how you're able to be a blessing on to us. The first way you can do it is to invite somebody to our church. You invite somebody to our church by sharing this onto your page. When you share it, this opens up the possibility that your friends on your page will be able to connect with us. You can also be a financial blessing to us. You can do this on Cash App. Hit us on our cash tag. That's $ Temple of Praise SDA Church. You can mail it in if you so choose to do this, or you can visit us on Sabbath. We encourage you to do that. That's the Temple of Praise Seventh-day Adventist Church. We're located at 1985 Green Road in Cleveland, Ohio, or you can get on to adventistgiving.org. Type Temple of Praise SDA Church. There is no other Temple of Praise Seventh-day Adventist Church but the one in Cleveland. Select that one, and you can be a blessing onto us. But beyond that, we're blessed just by the fact that you have tuned in. It is my sincere prayer that you have heard some of the wisdom that's being offered forth from Dr. Simmons on this evening, as well as the rest. Go back and watch the rest if you haven't seen them. We've covered budget. We've covered credit. We've covered getting out of debt and such. We looked at investment last week and retirement this week. Go back and look at those. And I know that you will be blessed. But I hope, again, that you don't just hear it, but you will implement it, that you might experience the blessings that God has for you in your life. Thank you so much. God bless you, everybody.
God bless everyone.